All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Man, just got done watching a great interview by Tim Bradley where he discussed the fight between Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford. And in short, he said, man, do not bet on a knockout in that fight. And when he broke it down in detail, he basically said that it is a matter of rhythm versus timing. And I thought it was a really great explanation to it, man. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So Tim Bradley was one of my favorite fighters in boxing when he was fighting. Very, very good fighter. As an analyst, he's a good analyst. You know, I don't always see, eye to eye with him over there on ESPN. He said some things in support of Terence Crawford relative to Errol Spence Jr. that I didn't necessarily agree with or like. But at the end of the day, I acknowledge that Tim Bradley is definitely an expert on the sport of boxing. So when he was asked about Shawn Porter versus Terence Crawford, my ears perked up, man. I listened very Shawn Porter versus Terence Crawford. My ears perked up, man, and I thought that he gave a very, very detailed and great explanation. Sometimes Tim Bradley, I think, says things to be just to be kind of controversial, to spark up a lot of, just puts a little bit extra on stuff sometimes. But in this particular clip, I think you can see it on Fight Hype, you can see it on Fight Hub. Not a difficult tape to find, man. Just type in there Tim Bradley and Shawn Porter, Terence Crawford. Has come up within the last 24 hours. I might put one in the comment section if I can remember to do so. I don't always remember to do it, man. That's why I always say, hey, these things are videos that are up and are readily available for everybody to see. But he was asked, what he thinks about the fight, excuse me, and he said, a lot of people were talking about, who are Terence Crawford fans, that they think Terence Crawford is going to run through Shawn Porter. If you look at some of the workouts that Terence Crawford participated in, and you listen to his camp, going in, real fun stuff, talking about, how Shawn Porter needs to take out more life insurance, more insurance for the fight, and because of what Terence Crawford is going to do to him, all that good old fun, I'm gonna whoop you and you ain't got no chance type talk. Well, when Tim Bradley was asked about it, he really did praise both guys, and he said that he thought that this really was, a big fight for Terence Crawford, and agreed with what a lot of people say, that it is really, the first opportunity for Terence Crawford to really show what he can do at 147 pounds against the big boys. Now, when people were saying, do you think Terence Crawford will dominate Shawn Porter? Do you think he'll knock him out? Man, he said an emphatic no. Like, Shawn Porter, he said the thing with Shawn Porter is, and this is where I thought it was really, really valuable, right? When you get to hear an ex-world champion really break down the fight. He talked about Shawn Porter and the advantage that Shawn Porter has, or the difficulty that Shawn Porter can cause Terence Crawford. He says that Terence Crawford is a rhythm fighter, and he's very, very good at catching people coming in, like figuring out their rhythm, and when they come in, really having something to catch them with when they come in. But he said in the particular case of Shawn Porter, that Shawn Porter is somebody that really breaks his rhythm up and comes and really shows you a lot of different looks. So he's going to be more difficult for Terence Crawford to catch his rhythm. And since it's going to be more difficult for Terence Crawford to catch his rhythm, it's going to be more difficult for Terence Crawford to time Shawn Porter on the way in. So the way that I see that playing out, and again, man, it was a great observation, and something, that really, I'm going to go back and look at the fights with Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter, the separate fights, to kind of see what he's talking about. I'm pretty familiar what he means with Terence Crawford as far as when Terence Crawford is jumping in, or when people are jumping in at Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford knowing, getting their timing down, and and catching them on the way in. He said one particular example that I recall, and that Tim Bradley pointed out was the Kell Brook fight, right? It took, Terence Crawford is somebody that comes in the fight in the first round or two. He likes to use a lot of hand movement, a lot of feints to get the reaction of the fighter, a real thinking man inside the ring. And after a few rounds of, having some apparent difficulties with Kell Brook, he was able to time Kell Brook, catch Kell Brook as Kell Brook got a little bit too aggressive. I think that I'm pretty sure that it was a counter shot, that he countered Kell Brook and then sent Kell Brook kind of wheeling back to the ropes. The fight wind up getting stopped. I think as much because of the eye injury to Kell Brook as anything else, but still, I get the point that Tim Bradley is talking about. As far as switching up rhythms and switching up the things that he's doing with Shawn Porter, I mean, I think you can clearly see that in the fight with like Yordenis Ugas. I think you can see that with Errol Spence Jr. He really was, he can do both things. He can fight on the inside, he can fight on the inside and on the outside. And he'll switch up the times that he's doing it, right? Sometimes he'll spend a couple rounds fighting on the outside and then switch it up and come on to the inside, right? And so that you don't really know what to expect. Obviously, Shawn Porter has been, in the ring with pretty much everybody in that weight division, and he's given, in the words of Tim Bradley, he's given everybody hell in that division. So Tim Bradley said in his estimation, he believes that the fight is a 50-50 fight, and that, in a 50-50 fight, that means you believe that you can go either way. I personally don't think that. I mean, I just get a feeling, and, I just get a feeling off Terence Crawford going into this fight that I think that Terence Crawford is really going to be able to show a lot more with Shawn Porter than he is against lesser competition. Terence Crawford, to me, seems to really have the mentality, an attack type of mentality, where, he doesn't really shy away from pressure. And, sometimes, he's gotten caught in situations where, he's amped up the pressure against somebody like a Yuriorkis Gamboa. But there's been other instances where he's fought somebody fairly decently, like my man Hank Lundy. I absolutely positively love the Hank Lundy fight, man. My door open in the background because I got this automatic vacuum cleaner going through the place. But so excuse that door opening. Hank Lundy, he showed in those fights. And I know that people say that, Hank Lundy was a lesser opponent, but he was a smaller guy, but a very, very good fighter. I think that Terence Crawford is really a guy that is going to rise to the pressure and not fade away. Kind of like Errol Spence Jr. I think Errol Spence Jr., when you put him in a tough situation, I think that he will show you even more than what he would in other fights. I think it's fair to say Tyson Fury is kind of like that too. Sometimes he may, for a little while fight down to his competition, but when everything's on the line, man, the dude will rise to it. And that's the feeling that I get going into this fight between Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter. I think that Shawn Porter is definitely a live dog. So when I say I think the fight is like a 52-48, somewhere around there, I don't think it's a 60-40 fight, and that is where I'm agreeing with Tim Bradley. Tim Bradley said, man, this ain't no 60-40 fight, it's a 50-50 fight. So, but it was really interesting, and I think you guys, if you really do want to hear a good breakdown of the fight, definitely go check out Tim Bradley and how he was talking about the difference between the timing of Terence Crawford and how that is going to work with the changes of rhythm with Shawn Porter, right? And, and the breakdown to just tell you, man, we really do have a world-class fight coming up here, man. And it's going to be interesting because, there's a lot of big pay-per-view fights and a lot of hyped up fights. This fight probably doesn't have as much hype as it should have, but I think that this is going to be like a really hardcore boxing fans, a treasure for really hardcore boxing fans, and we're going to see a lot of ebbs and flows, a lot of excitement in the fight, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section, and with that, I'm out. Peace.